Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the JT Jorfy podcast. My guest today is Dustin Young, and he is a sprint car 305 driver and also in construction and project management. So, Dustin, welcome to the show.
Hey, how we doing?
So, we saw you out for a race last year, but could you talk to me a little bit about your day job and how you got into racing?
My day job is I'm an equipment operator for H&P Construction. We specialize in a little bit of heavy highway, but mainly bridge construction. And yeah, so I run anything from a skid steer to an excavator to a bulldozer to a crane. I'm CCO certified, so yeah, stay pretty busy with that.
And then, how did you get into racing sprint cars?
Sprint car racing is something that when I was 10 years old, my stepdad, he took me down to Selinsgrove Speedway, and it just kind of started getting into my blood. And then we would go when I got up into high school, me and friends. We'd go down to Williams Grove to watch the Outlaws and stuff. And then I decided back probably 7, 8 years ago to try to get into micro racing. And really, I couldn't afford to do it. So
Can you explain what micro racing is?
yeah, it's a smaller size sprint car. It's a micro sprint with a 600 motor on it, and I just with my mortgage and everything, I just couldn't afford to do it. And so kind of a bad situation turned good. It was when, me and my daughter's mom, we separated, and we put a pile of work and heart into this old farmhouse. And it was one of them deals. I never thought that I'd ever sell it, but it was one of the things too that in the back of my head, it was like, I have something that I really want to do. It was on my heart, and the good Lord above, he kind of, he gave me a little bit of that inspiration too. And so I put my house up on the market and built a pole barn. And me and my daughter, we moved into that when the house went under contract. And so we were living in a pole barn while I was building the house. And then in the meantime, I found a car for sale and took some money and went and bought the car. And well, that's where we got our start. Basically, the only thing I knew about a sprint car, I never even stepped foot in the pit area other than, at the end of a race, walking across the track and having to leave through the pits. But the only thing I really knew about a sprint car is that they had an engine, and they had a big wing on the top and a big right rear tire. So the racing community is really an awesome community because so many people, have come up to me to help me. And I guess maybe I have an approachable personality, and I'm kind of outgoing. Like, I'm not afraid to talk to people. But it's funny how the guys that I used to watch, from the stands that were, kind of like, these guys are awesome and this and that. And then now, I have them as contacts in my phone. So it's
Yeah.
pretty cool to have that happen. But there again, I owe it all to the good Lord.
Yeah, that must be an awesome feeling to go from a fan cheering on these guys driving around and then becoming one of them one day, kind of going from the fan to the driver,
Yeah.
racing side by side with your former heroes. It must be a pretty awesome experience.
We haven't quite gotten to race side by side to them yet. They're in a higher division than we are. They're in a 410. But hey, if that opportunity
Making
would
your
present itself, yeah, we'd be willing to take a shot at it. That's for sure.
yeah. So you have ambitions, aspirations toward that if the right opportunity comes up.
It Hey, if the opportunity would present itself, absolutely. Um, yeah, anytime there's an opportunity in front of you, you can't kind of turn away from it. You gotta take it.
Very cool. What was it like when so you purchased the car first before you even really knew how to get into the racing league? Like how did you navigate that? Like once you buy it, then like where did you go next? Like how does that work to get involved?
I knew that the Pennsylvania Sprint Series was a 305 division that ran locally. So I reached out to them and then had to go through an interview process down at Motorama. Went through that, and then they had a test session down at Port Royal Speedway. So we got the car ready, and I had a buddy of mine. He come over and helped me out a little bit. He's been around sprint cars and stuff before. So we fired it off and learned some stuff there. Um, then we went down to Port Royal and got in the car and pushed me off. And I know that the first time that I got on the throttle of the car going down the front stretch, naturally, everybody that drives every day, when you get to a corner, you slow down. You get off the gas, get on the brake, and that's not how sprint cars work. Stay loaded, and you got to stay in the gas. And I had that car doing all kinds of wonky things, and I was thinking to myself, man, am I ever going to be able to figure this out? Because the guys around me are hauling ass, and here I am, driving around, putting around. So
That was your first time ever for driving the sprint car, like right when you were basically time trialing or like
no,
trying
we weren't.
to get in?
Well, it was a test session that basically
Okay.
guys out, and they usually do that every year. People come out, they shake their car down, and it's big open test session. But yeah, then from there it was a couple weeks later we went racing, and they start you at the back of the pack and stuff. And I remember one night it was down at Sealands Grove, and like I think it was 4 races that they would start you at the back of the pack. And I remember, like, I think it might have been even my 6th race that I still, like, I was putting myself to the back. And just one night at Sealands Grove, I was like, well, all right, we're just gonna go wherever they tell us to start. And it's crazy for anybody that's never seen a sprint car race. The beginning of a sprint car race is very exciting. It's very, you're holding on because everybody's going for the same real estate going down into turn 1, and that's when things can get hairy real quick. And there's a lot of guys that, they want to win the race on the first lap, and I guess I'm a little bit more reserved than that, and it's probably something that I need to work on a little bit, because when I get to turn 1 at the start of the race, I'm pretty cautious, because like I said, that's when things go south real quick. You got 26 cars, 24 cars going in there hot, and one little slip with an open wheel car, and cars go tumbling. And yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, yeah. And actually, for those who are not familiar with sprint car racing, yeah, you mentioned open wheels. Like the wheels, they make contact with another car you're driving next to. I imagine the impact and the inertia and the motion of that like really throws throws you through a loop. Probably unavoidable to crash at that point. Is that fairly safe
Yeah,
to say? You can kind of get your way out of that.
yeah. Well, because there is no fenders on the cars, so when tires hit tires, and you're going 90 to 120 mile an hour, things happen really really quick. Guys will jump a tire, or rear tire will go over top of somebody's front tire, and then things start bouncing, and that's when you start tumbling. So we've been pretty
Yeah, and
fortunate
it's
with that. We've had our crashes, but nothing. We'll just knock on wood there.
yeah, yeah. We'll knock on one on my side too. Can you describe the track a little bit? I think for folks that haven't seen it, it's a mud track typically, right?
Dirt track. It's a dirt track.
Dirt.
Yeah, and they're usually
Sorry, mud.
flat.
Yeah, mud would mean to be wet. My bad.
Yeah, good. Mud wouldn't be, but play oval. And they vary from size. Some tracks are quarter, 3/8 mile, up to half-mile tracks, and anywhere in between. Some have a lot of banking, some only have a little bit of banking. So, but
So what's the strategy? You said you're basically full throttle the entire way around the track, so you kind of like
that's the goal. That is the goal. To if you can run it wide open, well, that's what you're trying to accomplish all night long, is to be able to be in the throttle as long and hard as possible, yeah, and keep the car hooked up. Because as the night goes on, at the beginning of the night, the track will have a lot of grip because it'll have a lot of moisture to it. But as the night goes on, you have a lot of different cars on the track. It pulls moisture out. It gets smoother. Well, sometimes it gets rutted up, but aside from that, though, it just the track naturally is drying out as the night goes on. So you're constantly adjusting your car to continue to get grip. Forward bite is
mm,
what you're looking for.
yeah. And for those, I know the first time I watched it, the thing that it reminded me of, it's like basically a power slide through the corner. I mean, I played Mario Kart growing up. You hit that bumper on the side, slide out the back, and then turn the wheels back in. Is that pretty much the standard approach to getting around the corners
But
in sprint racing?
I mean, at some smaller tracks, you kind of got to muscle a car a little bit more. And I wouldn't say necessarily hoss the car in or toss it in, because you want to try to keep the car as straight as possible. But naturally, with the big right rear tire, you have a car that is trying to turn itself even when it's going straight. So when you get to the
Mm,
corner, you know, going down the straightaway, you're actually turning the wheel to the right to prevent the thing from turning to the left. So when you hit that corner, the car naturally wants to turn left, but you kind of want to catch it before the thing gets sideways on you, so that you can keep the car straight as possible. Because the straighter you can keep the car, faster you're going to be. The more sideways you are, you're losing momentum, you're losing speed.
Interesting. And you said every tire is a different size, huh?
Actually, yeah, because even your front tires, most of the time, can be anywhere. Some guys, quarter inch difference, half inch difference. I mean, and then there may be guys that run an inch difference. But now, like on the back of the car, there's guys that'll run 13 inches of stagger down to eight, 8 inches of stagger, maybe even lower than that. We've tried that before. That's not real fun, but
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. And how much, sorry to cut you off there.
nope, you're good.
Yeah, how much time do you have to? You got your full time job. Yeah, you got your household to run to, and then the racing team. How much of your free time dedicated to that? Like, what kind of balance are you able to strike there with having enough time to dedicate to the racing while also all your other life responsibilities?
Yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. Usually, if we race Saturday night, pretty much Saturday is all but shot. You spend your morning getting getting a couple last things prepared, getting your car down, checking all your ride heights and all that stuff to get the car ready to roll out onto the track, get all your tires and everything prepped, ready to go, all your stagger and everything the way that you want it, wheels the way you want it. And then you load up and you head to the track. And I like to get to the track early. I like to hang out a little bit, not be rushing around. So then you'll race up till sometimes it might be 10, 11 o'clock at night, and depending on where the track is, like we just raced Friday night, and that was down in Bridgeport, New Jersey, and it was a 3-hour trip. So we didn't get home till about 1:30 in the morning, and had a little bit of a crash race car, and had a little things to do there when we unloaded. And but yeah, so then usually then if that was a Saturday night, then Sunday I'll wash the car, get everything clean, and then kind of go about my Sunday. Then, I try to get to church right away in the morning, do the washing, then I go do my grocery shopping, stuff like that, and try to relax a little bit. But then on Monday, then you have all the maintenance to do on the car. And if you don't get it done on Monday, well, then that usually rolls over into maybe a little bit on a Tuesday night. So, and that's all on if the night went okay. So, if you have another race coming up next Saturday and you crash the car, well, now you're really, busting busting your ass to try to get everything ready and fixed and ready to race again. So
Yeah,
it's
sounds like
definitely you
a
have
labor
to,
of love.
yeah, you gotta dedicate a lot of time to it, because I mean there is some people that they're content with just going out there and racing and having a good time. Me, I'm way too competitive to just be content with just going out there having fun. It's who I am. And actually probably what we would lead into here. This year I definitely feel more healthy and more focused than I ever have, just with some issues that I had over the past couple of years, just with mainly with testosterone. And it's something that I think has that I've been battling for a long, long time, and never really knew to even have it looked at. And it was this fall driving to work the one day, I couldn't figure out why the hell I was turning the heat up, turning the heat down, turning the heat up, turning the heat down. I'm sweating and stuff and thinking, what the heck's going on here? Like I'm having hot flashes. And I started doing some research and stuff, and ended up basically what it was pointing at was low testosterone. So I ended up, once I got laid off for the winter, I went to the doctor, and I told my doctor now, like, and I don't even have a doctor usually because I just don't go to the hospital. And so I had to get a new doctor and everything. And she's like, "Oh, what brings you in?" I was like, "Look, I think I got low testosterone." And she's like, "Well, what makes you think that?" So I gave her the whole rundown and stuff. And I think she kind of thought that I was full of shit. But uh, when we ran my blood work and stuff, and my total testosterone come back the first time we ran the test at 35, which 35 for a 41-year-old male is that's extremely low. Like it was all but non-existent. Uh,
Wow.
so I knew I had a problem there, and then things really started to kind of click to me as to why I was feeling fatigue. I felt like I just didn't have the energy that I've had my whole life. I mean, I'm the type of person that it doesn't grass doesn't grow under my feet because I'm usually always moving. And I knew that there was something goofy going on, but I thought that it was just part of getting older, you know. And
Mhm.
yeah, it then when I finally found this out, it all really started making sense. So did a lot of research, tried doing supplements and stuff. And because really at the end of the day, the last thing that I wanted to do was to be on testosterone. And it just, I tried every avenue possible. I even went as far as getting on a prescription of Clomid, which is it's a synthetic hormone, which tells your pituitary gland to start to produce LH and FSH, which then tells your body to produce testosterone. And that didn't work. So then they ultimately had to put me on testosterone. And I've been on it now for about 4 weeks. And to say that I feel like a new person is an understatement. But also in that time, I also did a 79-hour fast. I tried to go for the whole 80 hours, and when I woke up that third morning, I was like, "Yeah, I'm eating a banana or something."
Yeah,
But
just one more hour to go.
yeah, I didn't have willpower to do it.
That's still very impressive. I've never even attempted that.
But I will say that was huge. I'm not. I can't say if one has been better than the other, but I know that I felt major changes when I came out of that fast, and I feel very very good now. I still have a couple things that the doctor's still trying to check out right now. They want to see if I have hemochromatosis, which is it's a buildup of iron that can indeed affect your pituitary gland. So I just had to go to hematology, have some blood work done, and I actually had to go in this morning at 6:30 to have uh yeah, now why can't I even think of what it is? When you'd go in to have your baby looked at. What do you call that?
Ultrasound.
Yeah, an ultrasound. Yeah. So I had to go in for an ultrasound this morning, check my liver and all this stuff.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we'll kind of see where that is. I mean, my goal is that I'm hoping, even though most would say that once you're on testosterone, you're on it for life. But my goal here is to get if this is the cause of the problem, to get that taken care of. And basically, I put a goal in front of me to get myself in the best shape of my life. Um, I've gone back to the gym and I feel really, really good there. So I'm hoping that once we get all these things figured out, I can get off the testosterone and just hopefully my body can start taking care of it on its own.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. It seems like you kind of self-diagnosed in a couple of those steps there with like even that initial like
Yeah.
recommend or I guess request for the doctor to run the blood work to check it out. And then
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the fasting was maybe your idea as well. And were they kind of recommending that also? Or is that another kind of thing that you just tried on your own?
No, I don't know if there's a hospital or a doctor in the country that's going to say, "Yeah, go ahead and try to do something naturally to cure yourself." I see that happening.
Fair.
So, but now actually where that came from, I mean, my mom and my brother, they've been doing some fasting and had good results with it. I thought that they were absolutely crazy for doing it, but then I did see that Dana White, he did it was an 80 or 82-hour fast, and it was very intriguing to me to watch, what he did and the podcast and stuff that he put out there. So I figured, what the heck, I'm gonna try it. And it was hard. It was extremely hard. I know I started it Sunday night, and on the second day I took my daughter down to go-kart racing, and I was feeling all right. I was drinking my electrolyte drink, and we went into K1, and usually nobody has any food in there. Well, of course, like now there's people walking around with Burger King. Then these people come walking in with a pizza. So like all I can smell is this stinking. I was waiting for him to drop the box. Like I was ready to just eat the box. I was so hungry. So it took a lot of willpower to not eat. And then even like the third day, my mom, she said, "Oh yeah, you're gonna feel euphoric. You're gonna feel great." The third day, I felt like garbage. I mean, just
Mm.
no energy. It had me run down, but after after the fact, I mean, I have myself convinced that I'm going to do this as just a routine to keep maintenance up on my body and hopefully maintain some good health.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you notice you like dropped weight in that time? Like I imagine your body starts maybe kind of eating itself at that point. Did you notice any like
Well,
concerning level of weight loss or anything like that?
they do say that you go into ketosis and then you can go into what they call autophagy, but honestly, I mean, I don't really have a whole lot of fat to lose. I
Hmm.
might have maybe noticed a little bit in my midsection. I actually have noticed more of that now since starting to go back to the gym and stuff like that. That my midsection does feel that I've lost a little bit of fluff that I had there. Not really that I had much, but I lost a little bit of that.
Interesting. And does it, I guess, any kind of new routines or practices moving forward that you're going to try to implement to maybe stave off any of the original causes? Did you kind of know what got you in that situation in the first place?
Well, I don't know if the whole deal is if it's that hemochromatosis, which is an overload of iron. With that being said, I do eat a lot of red meat. I love steak, I love jerky, shrimp. That's another thing that has a lot of iron in it. But I guess there's ways to lower your iron, and the one way is by donating blood. So I kind of look at that as, I'm an O negative person, so I can donate to anybody and, but then people that are O negative can only receive from O negative people. So kind of look at that as, I'm not a needle person. I hate needles. They freak me out. But here as of late, I've had more needles jammed in my arm in the past, 4 or 5 months than I ever have. So I'm slightly getting used to it. So with that being said, I mean, hey, if this is going to help me, but it's also possibly going to save somebody's life, it's kind of like a win-win. So I'm going to try to find, you know, donation places where I can get myself in a routine that I'm just, giving blood on a normal basis, which there's health benefits to that too, getting old blood out, your body creates new blood. It's kind of like a recycling system. So the big thing is just I want to make sure that I'm healthy moving forward because this has been like a resurgence for me, almost like a second shot at it, almost like my 30s all over again because that's kind of like how I feel.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah. It's great that you've seen such a positive improvement. Have you noticed, have you had like, races and back in the car since then? Do you feel kind of different behind the wheel? Any like differences in
Yeah,
results?
just had a race there on Friday night and got in the car and now this is our first race out all year and in previous years it was like I had demons in my head that the positivity wasn't there. Like in my mind it was like don't go out there and crash or it's the negativity that was in my head. Well, when you have that negative garbage in your head, you can't perform at the highest level, and that's with anything in life. I mean, that's that doesn't just come down to racing. That's anything you do in life. If you think that you're gonna fail, you're gonna fail. If you
Yeah.
think that you're gonna succeed, well, there's a pretty damn good chance that you're gonna succeed. Um, and that's where I was at. Like I couldn't get that garbage out of my head. So this year was the first that got in the car there on Friday, and my daughter, she drew the pill draw for us and got us a good starting spot in the heat race. We ended up winning our heat race, then went out for the feature, and you live and learn in racing and everything that you do. And I have a buddy of mine that he didn't race that weekend, and he's trying to help me win a race too. And we made an adjustment to the car that I knew in my gut wasn't the right adjustment to make, but he like implanted that in my head. So I'm like, well, maybe that might just be what we need. And we made that adjustment to the car and went out. We took the green. A guy kind of jumped my left rear going into turn one, and the car pushed really, really hard up the track. I bounced off the wall, lost. We started fifth. I fell back to 10th or 11th spot.
Mm.
And it was a hard hit, hard enough that my steering then was off, meaning that like the wheel how I normally would have it, now I'm like I have the wheel at a totally different direction. So I knew in my head, okay, something's bent on the front end of this car. Is it going to let loose? Is something going to break? Because at that point in time, if something on the right front goes, when you go into the next corner, I mean, you're going to drive right up the track, and then you're going to destroy your car. Um,
Right.
so I kind of played around there a little bit for a couple laps, and then I don't know. I just said screw it and started going. And then I mean, we started catching cars. We were past the car, was reeling some cars in, and ended up caution come out, and I just had it in my head that okay, when we take the green, I'm going to go to the top, and I'm driving around these guys, which is in previous years I wouldn't have done that. Like I probably would have been playing the conservative route.
Mm.
Maybe even I might have just pulled the car off when I knew that something was a little bit wrong with the car. But anyways, I we took the green and I sailed it in on the top and everything was great until corner exit, and the car had so much drive in the left rear it pushed me up the track and I clobbered into the wall, and it
Oh.
was a hard hit. It hit hard enough that the bolts that hold my locator for the steering box, it sheared those bolts off. The whole steering box went forward, come back down, and I was like, "Yeah, this thing is junk." Ended up uh, that was our night. But really, here I went over the car, and it seems like that right front really just absorbed the impact, and then everything went through into the steering box. So
Mm.
steering box is down, getting looked at right now. But yeah, I think that here in 2 weeks we'll be good to go for our next race. So
There
yeah.
you go. Yeah, sounds like the improved testosterone levels amped up the competition spirit. Maybe, yeah, maybe got you a little bit more bold on the track.
Yep, I believe so. But buddy of mine, he come up and he had to bring some fuel jugs back to me, and I told him a little bit of this story, and he's like, you you better not even go Fridays. Like all that testosterone, it ain't gonna end well. It ain't gonna end well. Well, yeah, I told, yeah, I told you shouldn't have went.
Do you think there is like a, I mean, I guess when you're kind of rehabilitating and kind of get your levels back to normal, is there a risk of going too far and like kind of overdoing it?
Yeah,
What's your
yeah,
thoughts around that?
absolutely. Yeah, so that's where you got to take more blood tests. Once you're into it for so long, and it's just routine blood tests to make sure that you get your dosage right. And then once you find that dosage, but like I said, this is not my long-term goal. My long-term goal is to get off this stuff. I want to do it as natural as I possibly can. So I'm hoping that even though that whole hemochromatosis thing doesn't sound like the most appealing thing to have, but if I can fix that by, donating blood and maybe lessen up on my shellfish and red meat consumption, well then so be it.
Yeah. Are there other maybe dietary like food things to think about as far as trying to maintain higher levels without the supplementation? Have you found anything about that in your research there?
Far as supplements for testosterone,
Yeah, or like even just like regular foods that help to increase the body's natural production of it. Have you seen anything about
far as
that?
go, I mean, there's different things there, but nothing that's really gonna you know, give you a big bump. There are two supplements that I have taken, but they don't necessarily help in my situation. But I learned that off of the Andrew Huberman show, and that was Tonkat Ali, and the other one is Fidogia agrestis. They're two natural supplements that just they have the effect on raising your testosterone. Also, ashwagandha can help out with your testosterone as well. So which they're definitely they're supplements that I will take moving forward once I know that okay, my pituitary is functioning properly. Yeah, I'll definitely be looking into that. And the big thing is I'm going to get myself into having lab work done on a regular basis so that I can monitor it myself and not really
Hmm.
have to rely on somebody else.
Yeah, taking control of your own well-being into your own hands rather than kind of outsourcing it to somebody else. Yeah, that's cool. I guess I was going to ask about. Sorry, let me get my note back on the ashwagandha. Oh, sorry, I just totally lost my train of thought. I'm gonna edit this out in post production. Oh yeah, I was gonna ask if you were gonna with like the fasting and like kind of the cleaning out the pituitary. So when you did that 79-hour fast, did you feel like as far as some of the things that may have been dormant, like you mentioned the pituitary and too much iron, do you think like that process kind of helped to like get back to like a baseline physiologically?
Well, that's the one thing that I'm not so sure. Like I had some blood work done here after starting the testosterone, which was then after starting or going through that fast. And my testosterone levels increased dramatically. They went from when the last test that I had done was at 27. My testosterone bumped up to 1309, which is that is on the high spectrum, but and my doctor, well, the doctor that prescribed me the testosterone, he right away was, well, how much of this are you using? And I'm like, look, I'm just using the recommended dosage. He's like, well, your testosterone is very high now. And I argued with him. I'm like, look, you don't know that my testosterone's high because the only thing you checked was my total testosterone. Well, you have free testosterone, and that's where you get your spunk from. You get that energy from that. That's the percentage of the total testosterone that is free floating throughout your body to give you that energy that you need. So after we kind of argued, I guess, a little bit back and forth. I told him, I said, look, the next blood test that you do, I want this, and this all on it so that I'll know if that fast, if it possibly helped out with my pituitary because I want him to test FSH and LH. And they were like non existent in all my other blood tests. Well, if it's showing now that my pituitary is producing that, well, then sure, then that means that fast definitely had an impact. So,
Yeah,
which is what
interesting.
I'm hoping because I just look at it. I'm taking the normal dosage of this testosterone. For it to increase that much just seems. I mean, I could be wrong. I'm no expert on it. I'm new to this, but it just with the amount that it went up in that short of a time, it almost seems like there's double the amount happening right now.
Yeah. Yeah, like greater than they would expect to see in a normal
Yeah,
case. Yeah. Are you going to try to do any sort of like intermittent fasting or put like a longer fast like more regularly moving forward? Do you think that's kind of
yeah.
one and done for you?
No, that's going to be put into probably like every 6 months. I'm going to try to do that, and then intermittent fasting. I do kind of play around with that a little bit. Like I try not to eat until about 9 o'clock in the morning or so, and then usually I try not to eat past 7 o'clock at night. So I keep a fairly large feeding window.
Mm.
But that's something too that I learned throughout this whole journey is, trying to get yourself into a feeding window of really like 8 hours is really good because then your body can go into that fasting state and stay there for a longer period of time. And I did that leading up into my prolonged fast. But yeah, I mean, I think that me, the way that my body feels, I don't know if that's the healthy thing for me is having that tight of a window. Just because right now I feel like I kind of found where that happy spot is, and I think that I'm going to try to stick with that. But the whole like 3 day fast, yeah, I'm gonna try to do that every 6 months.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. Trust your gut. Yeah, get
Yeah.
that gut feeling and just kind
Yep.
of go with what works for you. Sounds like a good approach.
Yep.
Coming up a little bit on time, but I did want to kind of get back to the racing. I had a question on sponsorship and things like that, and kind of the more like maybe economics or the money side of the equation there, are you able to like how do you go about like trying to seek sponsorship? Are they like kind of helping cover expenses when things like the crash happens? You got some big expenses coming in on repairs. How are you able to deal with that?
Well, I'll tell you how this all works out, and it starts with one quick little phrase, and it's don't be lazy. Like, if you want sponsorship help, don't be lazy. And I seen, as a matter of fact, I just had a discussion with a guy that I get my fuel from about this whole situation, and it drives me crazy because I think that a lot of racers by nature are just lazy. And that is because they'll go after, just because somebody has a name on the side of their car, they'll look at that and go, oh, well, I know that guy. Maybe he'll give me some money too. Well, that's not a sponsorship. That's not how it works. And people in today's day and age, they're not really benefiting a ton. Like, there is benefits to being on a race car, but you need to sell them on what you can do to them. It's not just that your car is going to go around the track at a local speedway. No, you need to present this to them, and it needs to be a partnership. These people are going to hand you money. Well, what can you do for them to help their business? And when I got into this deal, I didn't have any sponsors. So what did I do? I went to people that I have done business with, or people that in my line of work that our company has done business with, because I created a lot of relationships. And that's what a sponsorship is. It's a relationship. It's not, you know, give me money. That's not how it works. And that's how so many people, they look at it totally wrong. They don't get it. And I've educated myself. I've gone out to PRI the past 2 years and sat down in classes and stuff. And the one lady said that, you don't even need to have a race car. If you have a social media page that you can help a business get out there, like if you have so many followers, you don't need a race car to get sponsored. You can just have a one hell of a Facebook or a YouTube page or something that has a ton of followers, and you can make money there.
Mm.
So everybody though that is on my car initially, none of them had anything to do with racing. Like, I just went to them, and I mean, heck, I don't even know. There's one, two, three. There's got to be half a dozen people that are on my car that have been there from the beginning, and I don't think that they have any intention in leaving. I mean, and I've picked up sponsors by not even chasing them. I've had people come up to me and say, "Hey, I like the way that you carry yourself. Yeah, do you have a spot on your car?" I put my car up at the Early Bird Sports Expo, which is something that traditionally you don't see race cars at. But my buddy and his wife, they took this show over. They wanted to kind of have a little different feel to the show. So my car is there. And I buy coffee here in Danville from Basin Coffee. And Brad and me, I mean, we talked a little bit at the show. And then one day he comes up, he's like, hey, he says, what do we got to do to get Basin Coffee on the car? I said,
Nice.
well, really all depends on how much would you want to, put towards a sponsorship. And we come up with a number, and he's been on the car. This is his second year now. And we do some things for him too. I mean, like they have a spring fling every year in town. So we brought the car down last year for, it was either the spring fling or the fall festival. But, you put your car on display, and the big thing is, they're scratching your back. Well, you better scratch their back too. So.
Yeah, makes sense. Show the value that you can bring to them and how it's
Exactly.
mutually beneficial.
Yep. Yep. Exactly.
Very cool. Yeah, thank you for that. We are
Yeah.
coming up on time, but I wanted to let you have any final words or any events coming up or places people can check you out if they wanted to come see a race.
Yeah. If you just want to follow me, we have a Facebook page, Dustin Young Racing, and I have a schedule getting put together for me, and also my daughter. She's going to be racing this year. She's going to be racing a Young Gun Junior Sprint. But yeah, I should have that schedule getting posted here pretty soon. But yeah, we plan on running about 36 races this year.
Nice.
Basically all over Pennsylvania, a little bit in Jersey, and our final race of the season will probably be down in Beckley, West Virginia. So we did that race last year, had a really good time. But we have a lot of local shows. You know, we race at Sealands Grove Speedway. That's my favorite track. But we get down to Port Royal, Clinton County, Williams Grove, get down to Baps. Just there's a lot of good tracks here in Pennsylvania. So anybody that doesn't have something to do on a Friday or Saturday night, find a local dirt track because you'll have a good time.
Excellent. Yeah, best of luck with the upcoming race season. Also continued along the path of improvement and getting stronger and kind of getting the physical and mental state back in order. Looking forward to seeing how it turns out. And yeah, thank you for taking the time to come on the podcast today. Really appreciate it, Dustin.
Yep, absolutely, man. Anytime.
Cool. Take care. Bye,
Yep.
everybody.
You too, man. Thanks. See ya.